Welcome back, welcome back. I once saw a picture of a guy at the Kaisel, standing against the Kaisel with one hand up on the wall, and he has a cell phone pressed to his ear, and the caption says, "God, it's me, Steve. Can you hear me now?" And that's what this week's topic. This week's topic is, Hashem does not have to be a long-distance relationship. Does not have to be a long-distance relationship. Rav Shimshon Pincus in Sha'ar Mitzvila, he says something very, very interesting. He has a very, very interesting perspective. He says sometimes when a person is going towards something, it can be difficult for the eye to gauge if you're going towards that thing or if that thing is coming towards you. For example, if you're in a plane, landing, the plane's coming down for a landing, it can appear as though the ground is rushing up to you, but in reality, you're the one rushing down towards the ground. So Shimshon Pincus says, he says, very interesting, he says, sometimes we feel as though we're running towards Hashem. We're running towards Hashem, but in reality what's happening is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is running towards us. When we're broken, when we're running to Hashem, when we need help, it could seem to us like we're the ones running towards Hashem, but that's just our perception. In reality, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is coming, rushing towards us. I think possibly you can say that the inverse of that would be true as well. For example, when you're in a plane taking off from the ground, it looks as though the ground is falling away from you. But in reality, you're the one going up in the air, moving away from the ground. Sometimes we might feel like HaKadosh Baruch Hu is moving away from us, like HaKadosh Baruch Hu took a step back. But that's just a perception. In reality, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still right there, still so close to us. We might be the ones taking a step back, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu is right there. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is right there waiting for us to talk to Him. The question is, when we feel this perceived distance between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when we feel that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is so far removed from us, what can we do about it? In the Sefer Yosher Divrei Emes, Rav Meshulam Feivish Zabrizi, he was a Talmud of the Mezritch Magen in the late 1700s. He says a very, very interesting yesod, a very interesting concept. He says that even before a person has done tshuva, even when a person is still in the midst of chet, he's still in the midst, in his low place, he still has a chiyuv to be davuk by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He has a chiyuv of dveikus. He has a chiyuv to be connected, to be attached to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Even before a person has any thoughts of tshuva yet, even when a person's not holding by tshuva, he's not ready to do tshuva yet, he still has a chiyuv to be davuk in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What does that mean? What does it mean that a person has a chiyuv of dveikus to be connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even before a person's done tshuva? What that means is that we might feel that we're so far removed from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not, he's probably not interested in us right now. He's not too happy with what we're doing. He's not happy with us. He doesn't want to have a relationship with us. He's probably saying, you know what, leave the connection. I don't need to be connected to you right now. After you do tshuva, okay, we'll talk about it then. But right now, do me a favor. What kind of connection is this anyway to connect to me while you're in this low place before you've done tshuva? You know, that's the ways that sometimes that we can feel, that we can perceive the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu is probably thinking about us. What the Sefer Yosher Divrei Emes is telling us is that that's not true. That we're not as far as we think. That we're not as low as we think. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still there. That even when we're feeling low, and even when we're in chet and we haven't yet done tshuva, HaKadosh Baruch Hu still wants to be connected to us. We still have a chiyuv of dveikus with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We still have a chiyuv to be connected with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Think about it for a minute. Who do you want to be connected with? Do you want to be connected with somebody that you love? Or somebody that you despise, somebody that you look down at? If HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to be connected with Him, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to be davuk by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu still loves us. Even when we're in chet, even before we've done tshuva, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still there. He's still listening to us. He still wants us. He's more than wants us. We're obligated to be davuk by Hashem, to be connected, to try to be attached to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's a machlokes whether or not the tefillas that we daven 3 times a day, we daven Shachar, Mincha, Ma'ariv, there's machlokes whether or not the tefillas that we daven are midaraisa or midarabanan? Are they a rabbinic commandment, or are they midaraisa? Are they from the Torah? Are they a biblical obligation? The Ramban tells us that it's rabbinic. It's midrabanan. However, even according to Ramban, that it's midrabanan, there is a time when the chiyuv to daven is still going to be midaraisa, it's still going to be a biblical command, it's still going to be a chiyuv that you have to daven. And that is when a person is going through a tzara, when a person is in distress, when a person has sar. At that point, a person is mechuyev to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu midaraisa. It's not rabbinic at that point anymore. Let me ask you a question. When do you think a person is more likely to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Suppose theoretically you have a person who does not daven 3 times a day. He does not daven very often. When is he more likely to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Is that when there's something going wrong in his life, when there's a tsar, when he's in distress, when he's in pain, when there's a big issue in his life? Or do you think it's when things are going swimmingly well, everything is going amazing, now is going to be the time that he's going to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? For most people, the answer would be when there's something wrong, when there's something lacking, when a person's in distress, when there's a big tzara in a person's life, that's going to be the time that they would go to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to daven, even if they don't normally daven. If that's the case, why is the chiyuv to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu when a person's in tsar, if that's the more likely time that a person will daven anyway? Wouldn't it make more sense for the chiyuv to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be when everything's going swimmingly well, because a person's less likely to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu at that time? Why is the chiyuv, according to Ramban, the chiyuv midaraisa, the biblical obligation to daven, why is that at a time when you're more likely to daven anyways? I think possibly you can say that when a person's in tsar, when a person's in distress, they could feel very far removed from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They could feel like HaKadosh Baruch Hu is so distant from them. They might not feel that they could have a conversation with HaKadosh Baruch Hu at that point. Could feel like HaKadosh Baruch Hu is too far. He's not even listening. He's not even out there. I can't talk to him. Or a person could get so wrapped up in their tsar that they completely forget and they're completely not able to talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The tsar is so all-consuming. And one of the main reasons why we daven, one of the biggest reasons why we daven is to be connected to Hashem, to have a relationship with Hashem. When we have a conversation with Hashem and we're talking to the one that we know cares about us, loves us, is listening to us, and has the ability to help us, we're creating a relationship. We're creating dveikus between us and Hashem. We're creating a connection between us and Hashem. When we're going through a tsar, and we feel that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is far from us, we feel that there's this distance between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or we're so wrapped up in our tsar that we can't connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu right now, it's precisely at that point that there's a chiyuv to daven to Hashem, because right now is when we need that connection with Hashem. We need that dveikus with Hashem. We need to feel that no, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is right here. We could talk to him. He's listening to us. He's interested in what we have to say. And he's not as far as we think he is. When the Yidden were in Mitzrayim, under King Paras, under the Shibud of Mitzrayim, under King Paras' rule, working tremendously hard, crushed in body, crushed in spirit. They had fallen down to the 49th level of Tumah. They're completely crushed in body, crushed in spirit. The God tells us, V'nitzak el Hashem, they cried out to Hashem. Agav, when we say V'nitzak el Hashem, it's a very auspicious time for us to daven and for us to cry out to Hashem, to the Eis Ratzon, to have our tefillas answer for what we need in our lives. But the God tells us, V'nitzak el Hashem, they cried out to Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu heard their cries, and at that point, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I'm going to redeem the Bnei Israel. The question is, the Yidden were so crushed in body, crushed in spirit. How did they still retain hope? How did they not give up? How did they believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is out there listening to them? How did they believe that redemption is possible and that they're even worthy still of being redeemed? They had fallen so low. How did they even believe that redemption is possible and that they were worthy of being redeemed? In the Haggadah, with the Pirush of the Ar Zerua, he says a very interesting thing. The Kaddish tells us, "V'hi she'amda l'avosenu v'lanu." This is what stood for our fathers and us. This is the point that stands us up during these difficult times. That stands for us during these difficult times. He says, if you take the word "v'hi" and you rearrange the letters, it's "va'aye" and "we're." What does that mean? So Rav Nachman has a big vart in the second chelik of the Kuti Moran in Siman Yud Beis. Rav Nachman says like this: when a person falls into a low place and a person falls into the confusion and he feels so distant from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he feels so far from Hashem, how does a person get out of that? How does a person get out of that low state that he's fallen, out of the confusion that he's sunk into? Says Rabbeinu that this is by asking, Ayim Mekayim Kavaydai. Where is HaKadosh Baruch Hu? It's by saying, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I know you're here. Even in the Hester Panim, even in the concealment, even in the darkness, even in the confusion, I know you're here. Ayim Mekayim Kavaydai. When a Yid says, Aye, where are you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu? I'm looking for you. That's how a person can get out of the lowly state and a person can reconnect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and get back to that closeness with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is what the Or Zarua is telling us. That even when the Yidden were in Mitzrayim doing the back-breaking labor, even when they were crushed in spirit, V'hi, you rearrange the letters, V'aye she'amda l'avosenu, the thing that stood our fathers up, the thing that held us up in Mitzrayim, was constantly asking, I become kavodah. I know HaKadosh Baruch Hu is here in the darkness. I know HaKadosh Baruch Hu is here in the lowest parts of Mitzrayim. I know HaKadosh Baruch Hu is right here. I'm looking for him. I am become kavodah. Where is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem? I'm trying to find you. I'm trying to find you in the darkness. That's how we get through the darkness. But it wasn't just then in Mitzrayim, right? Even today, when we see again our enemies rising up against us. We just had the attack, Iran against Eretz Yisrael. We had October 7th. We have so many of our brothers and sisters still in captivity that we're davening that this Pesach they're going to have their geula and they're going to come home back to their families. Aye. The way we get through this is by looking for the Yad Hashem, looking for the Nisim, looking for Hashem who's still there, who's still so close, even in the darkness, even when he seems far. I am Ekom Kavodi, where are you, Hashem? I know you're here. I'm going to look for the Yad Hashem in the darkness. I'm going to look for the Yad Hashem within the concealment. Let's try to live a little higher this Pesach, and let's realize that even though sometimes to us, our perception seems that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is distant from us, in reality, he's closer than we think, waiting for us to talk to him. He wants to have this relationship with us. He wants us to be connected with us. We have to realize that right now is a Zman of Geula, a Zman of redemption. V'nitzak al Hashem, we could cry out to Hashem, and Hashem could redeem us on an individual level, whatever it is we're going through, and collectively redeem the Bnei Yisrael, redeem our brothers and sisters in captivity, protect the Chayalim, bring them back home, bring us all back to the final Geula, to Eretz Yisrael, where we belong. But let's realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is right here, and we could have a conversation with him at any time.